My next guest is from 420 Holistic Nurse. Lisa Napert is a traveling nurse with multiple certifications in respiratory care, dementia, wound care, and more. She began her education about cannabis due to a personal health issue in 2016 and became a cannabis holistic nurse in 2019. Welcome to the show, Lisa.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's great to see you here. I've seen you around on social media for a long time,
Yeah,
and so it's great to have you here on the show.
thank you.
Um, so Lisa, I wanted to first kind of define some terms for our listeners and viewers because, it seems like these words, alternative healthcare, holistic healthcare, complementary healthcare, are kind of all interchanged all the time, and I'm not sure if people know really what they actually mean. So maybe you can shed some light on that.
Sure. So there is a difference between them. We have our medical health care, which we're all familiar with. And so when we think in terms of complementary health care, usually that refers to things like massage and things of those nature, physical therapy. That is complementary. And that would, as you would think, go hand in hand,
Hmm.
medical complementary to those services. And they always go hand in hand. The insurances pay for them generally almost all the time, depending on the insurance that you have and the coverage that it includes. And it's different for everybody.
Hmm.
Um, so then when you move into holistics,
Hmm.
that's a game changer because this really, to the most extent, does not include pharmaceuticals. And what that means is it's not a synthetic, a human made synthetic compound. Now, holistically can mean a few things, not just
Hmm.
herbal medication. It encompasses the whole thing of mind, body, and spirit.
Hmm.
Okay, so holistics is a to make it a round component, those three things must exist. Okay.
Excellent.
Mm-hmm.
I was looking around, trying to look up some definitions myself and kind of wrap my head around it, and it said that holistic care treats the whole person, right? And I think what you've said just now kind of goes along with that. But it got me to thinking. So if holistic care treats the whole person, isn't that what all healthcare should be? How
It
come there's a separation?
okay.
Yeah.
So it boils down to money. Okay, so it really does because when medicine first started, it used to be general practitioners
Hmm.
that did everything.
Yeah.
It was only until many, many years later these started becoming specialties.
Hmm.
Okay.
Right.
And they started breaking apart. And so did the payments, and so did the insurances. And they
Hmm.
all started micromanaging every single thing that they possibly could do. And that's why we've got all these little things spread out this way. And this is why they've done it. And it's all about money. So,
And also, it. I hear you, and I remember when that kind of happened. I worked in mainstream healthcare for 25 years and graduated from college in 1987. Around in the 80s is kind of when the bigger shifts kind of happened, and suddenly, like, you have to go see the doctor for your joints, the doctor for your lungs, the doctor for all different things, which sounds great. Oh, he's a specialist, but it breaks up the body across all these different doctors and practitioners. It.
well, let me tell you, it goes even further than that, unfortunately, as I found out personally. And I didn't even realize how far that went until I had the experience myself. And when it comes down to it, they've broke it down so far. And just to use an example, orthopedics.
Hmm.
You can't just go see any orthopedic because there's a shoulder guy, there's a knee guy, there's a hip
Hmm.
guy, there's a foot guy. You can't just go see one.
Yeah,
So
so it's even more separated.
it's become
Hmm.
this industry of specialties, not an industry of medicine, not an industry of healthcare. It's an industry of specialties and money making. So
Hmm.
we find more people who have, like myself and yourself, and other people who have come to be in this community that we are now building and trying to educate and share this knowledge, that there's no need for that. We've come so far away from our baseline from hundreds of years ago, we forgot what is really sometimes our best choices.
Interesting. Yeah, I agree with you. And, so I have a question for you because
Mm-hmm.
you kind of came to cannabis with your own health issue. I believe cancer was the diagnosis.
Okay, so I came to cannabis nursing because of cancer, but
Hmm.
let me just take a step back. I
Hmm.
was exposed to cannabis as a child. My
Mm.
father was a consumer and a uh, how would you say, he cooked with it
Hmm.
and he also grew it. So
Okay.
I was exposed at a young age. I started consuming at a young age.
Hmm.
So I was I guess you can say I'm a connoisseur of a sort at this
Hmm.
point in my age. So for the transition to happen the way it did, I guess at some point it was kind of, it probably should have. I guess I
Hmm.
don't know. Some people it doesn't. Some people tend to shut off at some points in their lives and kind of flip the other way. For me,
Right.
it didn't.
Right. Right. Well, that adds more interest for me. So you already had this knowledge, and you already had the nursing knowledge and the medical knowledge, and it seems like the illness kind of helped you to pull it together. um, and my question really is, um, so prior to that, were you still thinking in kind of a holistic way anyway, and cannabis kind of helped you cross the bridge, or did it really open your eyes more and say, wow, we really need to look at these patients fully and not be separating out parts and systems?
I agree we should not be selling out parts and systems. I agree we should though have some people who, delve into it a lot more than other people, because, there are just some physicians who can, absorb that, and there are
Hmm.
just some physicians who cannot. And
Right.
that's okay. There are all different kinds of levels of participating medical participants in the field, and we all have a place in that field to do something to help somebody. Now, there's a place for pharmaceuticals, a time and a place for it, and there's a time and a place for cannabis, and there's a time and a place for both of them at the same time.
Hmm.
Now, what I've learned was that in my experience, I had been using cannabis at first. Early on in my life, I'd been using it recreationally without realizing it had been medically benefiting me.
Hmm.
I'd been born with a joint disorder, and I didn't realize it was benefiting me. I also had come along into my teen years into a hereditary migraine disorder
Oh, goodness.
that
Hmm.
also had been treating without me realizing the medical benefits I had been receiving from that. Now, when I had obtained the cancer and had been put into connection with somebody in the cannabis community who was a cancer survivor, who was a cannabis nurse, Neek Pachat, and
Hmm.
I was put in contact with that person with a friend of mine. This is where the connection started happening about I didn't know that what I had been doing had been helping me.
Hmm.
The connections were made. So, okay, what more can I learn about what I've been doing for myself, and how much more can I learn about how much more I can help myself, and then how much of this can I pass on as a nurse
Mm-hmm.
to other patients. And did I
Excellent.
not know that I could become a professional cannabis nurse as I was and am a professional medical nurse?
Excellent.
How
So,
wonderful was
so
that?
it's fantastic. And so, the other elements of being a holistic nurse, do you use those as well in your practice? Because it
I do.
sounds like you are looking at, you know, I'll let you speak for yourself. You know, all plants or other, holistic services,
Absolutely.
complementary services,
Hmm.
alternative health. What do we
So,
call it, Lisa? I don't know.
so, it could be used by many terms, and interchangeable as some people like to make it, and sometimes it's easy depending on, that person. It's as individual as as a thumbprint, right? Just like
Mm-hmm.
our care and our care plans and our treatment plans are all as individuals, just like the types and strains of cannabis that we use to treat certain ailments. Those are also individualized, like our thumbprints.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you're talking about using holistics and alternative herbal treatments, and that's how I refer to it,
Mm-hmm.
alternative herbal method treatments. Now, what I've done is, okay, because of this that happened, and I'm going to use myself an example so that I'm not violating any other person's stuff.
Sure.
Okay, because I had borderline uterine cancer, at the same time I had two different kinds of breast cancer. I was
Gosh.
consuming cannabis THC smoke low dose because one of my breast cancers was called HER2 positive breast cancer. And what that means is estrogen fed cancer. And you do not need any woman, any woman who has a HER2 positive breast cancer, no high doses of THC consumption. It feeds that cancer. And this is the information that's been passed on to me. Now,
Mm-hmm.
I was asked by a chemist, how do we know that? I haven't seen documentation of that. Okay, well, I'm going to look for that because I have not also been given that documentation, but this is the information I've been given for the last almost 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to look for that. So I'm going to follow through on this. But I also know as a result of this, and this, I lost these organs, ovaries and tubes. And what does that cause in a woman? This causes forced menopause and hot flashes. What can we do to help a woman who ends up in this position?
Mm-hmm.
Herbal remedies. What are we going to use? Well, we can use herbal remedies in forms of extracts. And
Mm-hmm.
how can we do that? Well, we're going to take some hemp hearts because we want to use our herbal cannabis. We're going to use our for fiber. We're going to use our herbal remedies from the ground earth that has
Mm-hmm.
provided us with these herbs to try to treat some of these side effects, things that have happened to our bodies as a result of some kind of disease
Mm-hmm.
process. So we're treating signs and symptoms of something else that's happened, and we're going to use the herbs for that.
Right.
Again,
So
I have a list of
you're looking at an array of different plant medicines that can help. And what about, mental health issues? And you're looking at the whole person. You're
so
probably looking at all
so
kinds of other things as well.
right. And as I said, when we're talking about holistics, we're talking about mind, body, and spirit.
Mm-hmm.
So we've talked about the body, right? So let's talk about the mind. The mind, you want to be able to put yourself in a good mental state. What do you want? How do you do that? Okay, first, cut out the drama in your life, first and foremost. I
Yes.
know that's hard, but you got to do it for you. And if you
Mm-hmm.
don't do you, there ain't nobody who's going to do it for you. Okay.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Hardest lesson to learn,
Hmm.
but you
Yeah,
got to.
that's great advice, and I mean, so maybe holistic is really a better term than saying alternative health,
It is.
because it encompasses all aspects of a person's health and wellness,
It is.
and I think that mainstream allopathic medicine often fails at that. Really, um, you
Right.
know.
So, I mean, create yourself a healthy boundary. Um, a set of healthy rules to set for yourself, which I did some time ago, and
Mm-hmm.
and 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 hold yourself accountable, right?
Mm-hmm.
Say, okay, this is don't settle. Period.
Mm-hmm.
Don't settle. Love yourself. That was a real hard one for me. Okay. So,
Mm-hmm.
and that's about your mental status. And then so talk about your spirit.
Mm-hmm.
Do some yoga, do some meditation, do some grounding, do some, just sit by a stream by yourself, smoke a J, put your toes in the water, whatever. Sit by
Nice.
the,
Mm-hmm.
I have a place that I love to sit by the ocean and just smell the sea.
Mm-hmm. All of these things, taking in all the different senses, all the systems in the body, mind,
Feel
body,
the
and spirit,
sun.
it just seems like it makes so much sense for overall health and wellness to me.
So is when you think about holistics and you see, you hear the 420 holistic nurse, it's not always about the ganja.
Right, right,
You
right,
know, it's
right.
about mind, body, and spirit. It's about
Excellent.
living the best life you can possibly live. And I say this all the time, living the best life you can possibly live, and be happy with that. Don't settle, right? Because
Yes,
we only have this one life to live, we only have the one chance. And why not be happy doing it?
I agree. So, Lisa, how can people get in touch with you?
So I'm here on Facebook as Lisa Gilbo Napert, but I'm also here as the 420 Holistic Nurse. I have a group page and a business page, but I can also be found on Instagram and TikTok as the 420 Holistic Nurse.
Excellent. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me. I love sharing. I am blessed that you wanted to have me here, and that I hope that all the information that I have provided is usable by somebody. And if it is, bless you.
Oh, thank you.